Welcome to today's episode, where we dive into Robert J. Sawyer's thought-provoking Neanderthal Parallax Trilogy. In this series, Sawyer takes us on an intellectual journey between two parallel worlds, one inhabited by humans and the other by Neanderthals. The first book, Hominids, introduces us to Ponter Bodit, a Neanderthal physicist who accidentally crosses into our world. As the trilogy progresses, we explore the complex relationships, ethical dilemmas, and cultural clashes between the two species. In this episode, we'll break down each part of the trilogy, starting with the foundation laid in Hominids and how it sets the stage for the dramatic, multi-layered narrative that follows. Stay tuned as we explore the fascinating intersection of science, identity, and the potential for unity between two worlds. Hominids, the discovery of a parallel Neanderthal world. In the first book of the Neanderthal Parallax Trilogy, Hominids, Robert J. Sawyer introduces readers to a captivating alternate reality where Neanderthals evolved alongside humans, but took a very different path of development. The story begins when a quantum physicist named Ponter Bodit, a Neanderthal from this alternate world, accidentally crosses into our own universe during an experiment that goes awry. His arrival in the human world sets off a series of events that will challenge both his own understanding of humanity and that of the humans around him. Through this scientific mishap, Sawyer begins a deep exploration of identity, morality, and the complex relationships between species, as well as the roles of gender and society in shaping civilizations. The Neanderthal world and Ponter Bodit's background. The novel opens in a world that is, on the surface, much like our own, but with a key difference. The Neanderthals, having survived the same challenges faced by Homo sapiens in our history, developed their own advanced civilization. They are not the brutish, primitive creatures often depicted in human history, but are highly intelligent beings with their own rich culture, technological advances, and complex social systems. In fact, the Neanderthals in Sawyer's world have developed technology similar to ours, but have also made key scientific advancements that humans in our world have not. This includes the discovery of a fundamental principle of physics that allows them to explore other universes through quantum mechanics. Ponter Bodit is a physicist and one of the leading researchers in the Neanderthal world. He is working on an experiment designed to explore the idea of parallel universes, and during the course of this experiment, he unexpectedly crosses over from his world into ours. The event is caused by a quantum anomaly, and Ponter finds himself alone in the human world, facing a civilization vastly different from his own. As Ponter experiences this new world, his perspective as a Neanderthal, a species whose evolution took a separate path, is a key element of the novel. His initial reaction to humans is one of both fascination and bewilderment. He is intrigued by human behaviors, but at the same time, he finds many aspects of human society foreign, even troubling. His experience in our world provides readers with a unique point of view as Ponter constantly compares and contrasts human society with that of the Neanderthals, whose culture values different things. For example, in the Neanderthal world, their social structure is far less hierarchical than human society, with gender equality being the norm and political decisions made through consensus rather than authoritarian rule. Ponter's reactions to the human world and his growing realization of the complex moral and philosophical questions raised by his sudden arrival give the reader insight into the Neanderthal culture and worldview. His experience offers a perspective on human society that highlights the arbitrary nature of many aspects of human life, from our systems of power and governance to our assumptions about race, gender, and intelligence. Ponter's struggle to understand human culture reflects the broader theme of the book. What makes us human, and how much of our humanity is shaped by society, biology, and history? Human reactions and scientific investigations. While Ponter's arrival in the human world is a shocking and mysterious event, it is not long before government agencies and scientific experts get involved. Ponter is taken into custody by various authorities who, naturally, are highly skeptical of his claims that he is from a parallel universe. His interactions with humans are initially tense and filled with misunderstanding, but slowly he begins to form connections with some of the people around him. One of the most significant human characters that Ponter interacts with is Dr. Mary Vaughan, a leading quantum physicist who works at a scientific institution in the human world. Mary is an expert in the same field of quantum mechanics that Ponter himself studied, and she becomes one of the first to accept Ponter's story. As the novel progresses, Mary plays an important role in Ponter's journey, both as a scientific ally and as a potential romantic interest. She is intrigued by his knowledge and the possibilities his existence represents for our understanding of the universe. Their relationship begins as one of professional curiosity, but soon develops into something more personal. Mary's engagement with Ponter's experience and her growing connection with him drive much of the emotional tension in the first book. As she helps Ponter navigate his way through human society, she also grapples with the ethical and emotional dilemmas that arise from interacting with a being who is so fundamentally different from humans, yet shares many of their intellectual qualities. Their evolving relationship challenges both characters to confront their own preconceived notions about love, intimacy, and identity. The government and scientific authorities are naturally interested in Ponter's abilities, as his arrival in the human world has the potential to revolutionize our understanding of physics, consciousness, and parallel universes. They begin to study him, attempting to understand the mechanics of his travel between universes and how they might use his knowledge to their advantage. However, Ponter's knowledge of the Neanderthal world, particularly his scientific expertise, raises questions about how much the human world is willing to trust him and how much Ponter himself can trust humanity. His knowledge could potentially be used for good or for ill, and much of the novel's tension arises from this uncertainty. Meanwhile, Ponter's appearance in the human world also has political implications. Some factions of the government and military see him as a potential asset, while others view him as a threat. This tension adds another layer of intrigue to the novel, as political powers vie for control over the Neanderthal figure who is suddenly central to a larger global conversation. Philosophical and ethical questions, identity, gender, and the nature of humanity. One of the most thought-provoking aspects of Hominids is the way it raises questions about identity and the nature of being. As Ponter interacts with humans, he begins to reflect on the idea of what it means to be human. As a Neanderthal, Ponter views human society through a critical lens, observing the many contradictions and challenges that make up human existence. He also contemplates the similarities between Neanderthals and humans, and whether the differences between the two species are really as vast as they seem. A key theme that Sawyer explores is the concept of otherness. Ponter, as a Neanderthal, is fundamentally other in the human world, and this sense of alienation echoes many of the same experiences that marginalized groups face in human societies. Through Ponter's eyes, readers are encouraged to think about what separates us from one another, what constitutes difference, and how that difference is often socially constructed. Gender also plays an important role in Ponter's interactions with humans. In the Neanderthal world, gender roles are fluid, with both males and females taking on a wide variety of roles and responsibilities. This is in stark contrast to human society, where gender roles are often rigidly defined and can restrict individual freedom. Ponter's observations about gender in the human world challenge the assumptions that many of us take for granted. For Ponter, the idea of a woman being unable to perform certain tasks simply because of her gender seems incomprehensible, and this difference in perspective provides a deep critique of human societal norms. This philosophical inquiry into the nature of identity, gender, and the arbitrary constructs of society is one of the core elements that makes Hominids so rich and thought-provoking. It encourages readers to reconsider how we define ourselves, both as individuals and as a species, and how much of our reality is shaped by the world we live in. Humans, exploring the Neanderthal and human relationship. In the second book of the Neanderthal Parallax Trilogy, Humans, Robert J. Sawyer delves deeper into the consequences of Ponter Bodditt's arrival in the human world, expanding on the complex relationships between humans and Neanderthals. This installment focuses on the increasing tensions between the two species, exploring the intricacies of cultural exchange, scientific discoveries, and the implications of these revelations on both worlds. We also see a growing connection between Ponter and Dr. Mary Vaughan, further complicating the questions of identity, intimacy, and difference. The growing tension between the two worlds. As Humans begins, Ponterbot's presence in the human world has become more widely known. His scientific expertise in quantum physics and his connection to a parallel universe make him a unique figure, one who has the potential to revolutionize our understanding of the universe. However, the deeper Ponter's integration into the human world becomes, the more complicated his relationship with both human society and the Neanderthal world becomes. The government and various factions that initially saw Ponter's arrival as an asset to be controlled begin to realize that his existence poses a significant challenge to established beliefs. His scientific knowledge and the philosophical questions he raises about the nature of humanity and identity create a rift between those who see him as a bridge to greater understanding and those who view him as a dangerous anomaly. The very notion that another intelligent species, one that has evolved separately from humans, exists in a parallel universe is difficult for many people to comprehend, let alone accept. The societal impact of this revelation is profound. Ponter's existence forces humans to confront the long-held belief in their own superiority over other species, as well as their perception of Neanderthals as primitive, brutish creatures. Now that Ponter is present and capable of engaging in intellectual discourse on par with the greatest minds of the human world, the lines between us and them are no longer so clear. This threatens the long-standing cultural and social divisions that separate species, as well as the hierarchical systems that humans have put in place to maintain control over others. As the political and scientific communities in the human world struggle to come to terms with Ponter's existence, the Neanderthal world is also experiencing upheaval. Ponter's unexpected appearance in the human world has triggered a new round of scrutiny and investigation among his people. Neanderthal scientists, philosophers, and political leaders are now considering the potential consequences of their own world's exposure to the human world. If Ponter's arrival were to be made known to the broader population in the Neanderthal universe, it could have far-reaching political, cultural, and social ramifications. Much like in the human world, the Neanderthal society is grappling with the implications of knowing they are not alone in the multiverse, a revelation that raises existential questions about their place in the cosmos. The tension between the two worlds is not simply intellectual or cultural. It is political and, in some cases, existential. Both Ponter and the humans he interacts with must navigate this delicate balance of discovery, trust, and power. The question of how to share knowledge without destabilizing either world's order becomes a central concern in Humans. Ponter's growing relationship with Dr. Mary Vaughan. One of the most significant emotional developments in Humans is the deepening relationship between Ponter Bodit and Dr. Mary Vaughan. Mary, a quantum physicist in the human world, initially met Ponter as a scientist intrigued by his knowledge and experience. As Ponter becomes more integrated into her life, their relationship begins to evolve beyond the professional realm. They find themselves drawn to one another, despite the profound differences between them. Their relationship is complicated by the fact that Ponter is from a parallel universe, and Mary is still trying to reconcile the existence of Neanderthals with the human world's preconceived notions of identity and gender. This growing emotional bond is made more difficult by the fact that Ponter's very existence challenges Mary's understanding of human exceptionalism. Ponter's intimate relationship with Mary serves as a kind of mirror, reflecting the broader human tendency to create boundaries around categories like human and non-human based on cultural, gendered, and sometimes racial assumptions. For Ponter, the idea of romance with a human woman is even more challenging. In the Neanderthal world, gender roles are vastly different. Neanderthals have no equivalent to the rigid, often oppressive gender norms found in human society. In their world, men and women share responsibilities equally, and there are no major distinctions between their roles in relationships or work. This idea of gender equality deeply influences Ponter's interactions with Mary. He is intrigued by her intelligence, but he is also confronted with the societal norms of the human world that prevent him from fully embracing their connection. The fact that Mary is human and female places her in a socially subordinate position in the human world, which Ponter finds difficult to understand, given his culture's respect for equality between the sexes. As the story develops, their relationship becomes a point of tension between the two worlds, as it challenges both Ponter and Mary to reconsider their ideas of love, intimacy, and societal expectations. Can a Neanderthal and a human truly form a lasting connection when their very identities are shaped by vastly different evolutionary and cultural histories? Through their relationship, Sawyer raises profound questions about the nature of romantic love, the ways that biology and culture intersect to shape individual experiences, and how the notion of difference plays out in intimate relationships. Neanderthal society and cultural differences. Another key aspect of Humans is the further exploration of Neanderthal society. Sawyer expands on the differences between human and Neanderthal cultures, shedding light on the social systems, values, and norms that have evolved in the parallel world of the Neanderthals. One of the key differences that emerges is the Neanderthals' treatment of gender, as mentioned earlier. In their world, both men and women have equal access to power, education, and decision-making roles, which stands in stark contrast to the often rigid and hierarchical gender structures in human societies. Moreover, the Neanderthals have developed a highly advanced scientific and technological society with a deep understanding of quantum mechanics, physics, and multiversal theory. Their ability to explore and navigate between parallel universes is a direct result of this advanced knowledge. This sets them apart not just from humans, but from the way we perceive progress and development. Their society is characterized by consensus-driven politics, where leaders are chosen based on their wisdom and knowledge, rather than their ability to wield power or manipulate others. This model of governance represents a stark contrast to the competitive and often corrupt political systems that dominate the human world. One of the most intriguing aspects of Neanderthal society, as presented in Humans, is their approach to ethics and moral philosophy. In the Neanderthal world, the concept of good and evil is not as clearly defined as it is in human cultures. The Neanderthals live by a code of empathy, where the emphasis is placed on understanding others' perspectives and finding solutions that benefit the collective good. This philosophical outlook often leads to decisions that prioritize the well-being of the entire society, even if it means individual sacrifice. In contrast, human societies tend to focus more on individual rights and freedoms, sometimes at the expense of the greater good. These differences in social organization and ethics play a significant role in the unfolding drama of the novel. As Ponter continues to navigate the complexities of human society, he is forced to question not only his own worldview, but also the assumptions that humans make about morality, governance, and society. Through Ponter's observations and interactions, readers are invited to reflect on their own cultural norms and consider the possibility that there may be alternative ways of organizing society that are equally valid, if not more just and equitable. The unfolding crisis between the two worlds. As Humans progresses, the novel builds toward a deeper crisis between the two worlds. Ponter's continued presence in the human world leads to increased scrutiny and fear from some of the human political and religious factions. There are growing concerns about the potential dangers of interacting with a parallel universe, as well as the possibility that Ponter's knowledge could lead to unforeseen consequences. The tension between exploration and exploitation, discovery and fear, becomes central to the novel's conflict. Simultaneously, the Neanderthal world faces its own crisis. The actions of certain factions in the Neanderthal world, some seeking to keep their advanced knowledge hidden, others wanting to embrace the potential for greater cooperation with humans, create political turmoil. As the story progresses, the stakes grow higher, and both worlds find themselves at a crossroads. The decisions made by both Ponter and the humans he interacts with will have far-reaching consequences for the future of both species, and the possibility of cooperation or conflict looms large. Hybrids. The final confrontation and the resolution of the Neanderthal Parallax. In the third and final book of the Neanderthal Parallax Trilogy, Hybrids, Robert J. Sawyer brings the complex and multi-layered narrative to a thrilling and thought-provoking conclusion. The culmination of the events set in motion by Ponter Boddett's accidental crossing into the human world unfolds in this book. As the political, cultural, and ethical tensions between Neanderthals and humans come to a head, Hybrids not only explores the further deepening of the relationship between Ponter and Dr. Mary Vaughan, but also addresses the crucial question of how the two parallel worlds, one inhabited by humans and the other by Neanderthals, will coexist or collide. The book also examines themes of hybridization, both literally in terms of the blending of species and metaphorically as it reflects on the blending of cultures, identities, and the potential for future collaboration between humans and Neanderthals. The heightening conflict between worlds. By the time Hybrids begins, the tension between the two worlds, the human world and the Neanderthal world, has reached a boiling point. The discovery that two intelligent species not only coexist in parallel universes, but have the ability to communicate and travel between worlds, raises fundamental questions about humanity's place in the multiverse. Both sides are grappling with fear, uncertainty, and the potential for conflict. And it becomes clear that the existence of one world may no longer be sustainable without significant changes in the way the two worlds relate to one another. Ponter Bodett, who was once a relatively passive observer in this unfolding drama, becomes a pivotal figure in the resolution of the conflict. His initial attempts to integrate into the human world and his growing relationship with Dr. Mary Vaughan have led him to challenge the very concept of what it means to be human or Neanderthal. Now he is forced to confront the larger consequences of his presence in the human world. The first book in the series, Hominids, focused on Ponter's individual journey, but by Hybrids, the stakes have escalated to a global level. At the heart of the conflict lies the question of how the two worlds can coexist without causing irreparable harm. Should the Neanderthal world remain isolated and hidden, or is there a possibility for cooperation? And if so, what form should that cooperation take? Some factions in the human world view the Neanderthals as a threat to their dominance, believing that exposure to another intelligent species would undermine the very foundations of human civilization. Meanwhile, certain political groups within the Neanderthal world fear the exploitation and manipulation of their advanced knowledge and technology by humans. Both sides are operating out of fear of the unknown, fear of the consequences of bridging the gap between the two species, and fear of losing their unique identities and cultural values. In the midst of this uncertainty, the novel reveals a growing sense of urgency as both worlds begin to realize that the potential for peaceful coexistence is slipping away. Tensions reach a breaking point when certain factions on both sides begin to advocate for more drastic, even violent measures to protect their respective worlds. The idea of hybridization, both in a physical and cultural sense, becomes one of the primary catalysts for resolving the conflict. The question of whether it is possible to bridge the gap between Neanderthals and humans, creating something new, a hybrid species or society, becomes central to the novel's resolution. Ponter and Mary's evolving relationship. As Ponter's journey progresses, his relationship with Dr. Mary Vaughan takes on an increasingly complex role in the resolution of the conflict. Throughout the trilogy, their evolving relationship has served as both a personal and intellectual exploration of identity, culture, and the blending of species. In Hybrids, this relationship is tested more than ever before. At this point in the story, Mary is fully aware of the monumental implications of Ponter's existence, and the connection between them is more than just emotional. It is symbolic of the potential for the two species to unite and create a new path forward. Their bond deepens as they confront the challenges presented by the political and cultural barriers between the human and Neanderthal worlds. The idea of hybridization is not limited to the physical blending of species, but extends to the merging of their cultures and philosophies. Mary, whose scientific work has played a crucial role in bridging the gap between the two worlds, must also reckon with her own biases and preconceived notions about identity. She is drawn into the moral dilemmas surrounding the hybridization question, torn between the hope for a new future where the two species can coexist and the fear that such a future might destroy everything that makes humanity unique. Their relationship also takes on a more intimate dimension, as Mary and Ponter face the possibility of starting a family together. The idea of their union and the potential for their offspring to embody both Neanderthal and human traits symbolizes the broader theme of hybridization explored in the book. Can a hybrid offspring represent the best qualities of both species, or will it be a symbol of cultural dilution and loss of identity? This question looms over the couple's relationship as they navigate the delicate balance between personal love and the larger political and societal ramifications of their connection. The role of hybridization and scientific discovery. The concept of hybridization is one of the central themes in hybrids, both in a literal and philosophical sense. The idea of a hybrid species, a blending of Neanderthal and human traits, offers a potential solution to the conflict that has been building throughout the trilogy. Some characters in the human world and Neanderthal world view hybridization as a way to overcome the barriers that divide the two species, fostering a new generation of beings who could bridge the gap between their worlds and offer the possibility of peaceful coexistence. At the same time, hybridization raises complex ethical and scientific questions. Can it be done without the risk of creating something neither human nor Neanderthal? How would the creation of hybrid beings affect both societies? Would they be accepted in either world, or would they be ostracized as unnatural? These questions drive much of the action in hybrids, as both Neanderthal and human scientists work together to explore the potential for creating a hybrid species. The novel explores the tension between the hope for a better future and the fear of the unknown, as characters from both worlds grapple with the implications of such a radical step. While hybridization presents an opportunity for peace and collaboration, it also exposes the deeper fears and prejudices that exist on both sides. In the Neanderthal world, the idea of creating hybrid beings stirs up fears of contamination and loss of cultural purity. In the human world, the notion of hybridization challenges long-held beliefs about human superiority and identity. Some factions in both societies view hybridization as a form of compromise, while others see it as an existential threat. As the story unfolds, the central characters, particularly Ponter and Mary, must confront these moral dilemmas, with the ultimate question being whether humanity and Neanderthals can ever truly coexist without losing what makes them distinct. The resolution: a new future for both worlds. In the final chapters of Hybrids, the conflict reaches its apex, and the potential for a resolution becomes clearer. The choices made by Ponter, Mary, and their allies have far-reaching consequences, and the fate of both the human and Neanderthal worlds hangs in the balance. The resolution of the trilogy is not simple, nor is it entirely optimistic. Rather, Sawyer offers a nuanced and realistic conclusion that acknowledges both the possibilities and the risks of hybridization and the blending of cultures. Through a combination of scientific breakthroughs, political maneuvering, and personal sacrifices, the characters are able to chart a course that opens the door to cooperation between the two worlds. The idea of hybridization, both literal and metaphorical, becomes a key element in forging a new future. However, the resolution is not without its challenges. There are those in both worlds who remain steadfast in their opposition to hybridization, fearing that it will erase the essence of their respective cultures. Others are eager to embrace the possibility of a new, hybrid society that transcends the boundaries between Neanderthals and humans. In the end, the novel suggests that the future of both species lies in their ability to come together, not through dominance or cultural purity, but through mutual understanding and acceptance of their differences. The possibility of a hybrid future is one of hope and potential, but it is also fraught with uncertainty. Hybrids concludes on a note of both optimism and caution, as the characters and the readers are left to ponder what the next chapter of this unprecedented interspecies collaboration might look like. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Book Bites. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into Robert J. Sawyer's Neanderthal Parallax Trilogy. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an episode. We'll be back soon with more bite-sized insights into the world of books. Until then, keep reading and stay curious.